We are on our way to Disney Holy Ground. We're gonna go to the 1964 World's Fairgrounds, where the Ford Motorway and the Carousel of Progress, Small World all debuted. We're gonna see where it all took place.
Just an 80s boy and a 90s teen, going on all things Disney, from house to parks and in between. Come share the magic with me. La 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 la. Live your life to a Disney tune. Come and share Jake's Disney afternoon.
We are here at Times Square, 42nd Street, transferring to the 7 train. So let's go. This is the 42nd Street hub. We are looking for the 7 train. To the right. See you on the other side. Okay, we're here at the very far end of Queens. There goes our train. We are about to go down, and in the distance is where we are heading. So let's go. Beautiful day walking on the boardwalk. We've got the train yard. Trains for days. City Field behind us. Apparently there's commencement today. Wherever it is, better not get in my way. Well, here we are, walking into the park grounds. It's gorgeous and peaceful here. Let's see what remains from 1964. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Disney touched that tree. Maybe the Sherman Brothers walked down this road visiting some pavilions. We are on some Disney hallowed ground, folks. So we're sitting here on the main avenue. You can see the unisphere behind me, and it looks like maybe that fountain is working back there. Of course, the unisphere was the center of the fairgrounds, the most recognizable symbol. Incidentally, the theme of the fair was peace through understanding. I don't know about you, but I feel like we could use a little bit more of that these days. So I suppose in a way not much has changed since 1964, and I suppose in a way many things have changed since then, but this is a reminder that the fair was to inspire what we could accomplish together, and what we could accomplish when we work to understand each other and not judge each other. So I think that's a beautiful reminder, and I just love this view. massive. Just look at that thing. Like the Epcot ball in my own backyard. Of course, the fountain is defunct, which stinks, but so before we get too much further, we're going to take a stop into the Queen's Museum where they've got some info and exhibits on the 1964 World's Fair, and then we're going to go out to the fairgrounds and do a little bit of exploring. That's where we want to go. This is a replica of Progress Land. The Carousel of Progress debuted. Here is a model of the entire grounds. This is where we came in right along with the boardwalk, as it were, and we came up this road here. There's the fountain of the planets. This little round building right here is the Carousel of Progress. And then right across the way, you can get, that's the Pepsi Cola building. Then we walked back and up to the fountains, following it up the main road. You can see all of these pavilions that were left. There was the mist fountain we went past, the globe, and of course this building is where we are now. It's like a mini world showcase. We got Wisconsin, Brazil, New York State, Pakistan, Africa, Greece, Morocco, Switzerland, Sweden, the International Plaza, France, Christian Science, Israel, Guinea, Sermons from Science, Jordan, Sudan, Polynesia, China, Mexico, Argentina, Thailand, all centered around this center area here. Over here we have the Illinois building. That is where they housed the great moments with Mr. Lincoln. Moving back, you've got Billy Graham, the American Express, Arlington Hat, more pavilions, National Cash Registry. It's the Coca-Cola building, is that yellow circle on there. These buildings are food related. You've got the House of Good Taste, World of Food. The green one is the Mormon Church. There was a circus, a giant amphitheater. There's a boat ride. This was the Florida Pavilion. There's a puppet theater and a wax museum. The Indian Village, Kittyland, Texas. The Century Showcase, Waffle Restaurant. This building was Hawaii with a boat ride. So you can see how just ginormous. Look, I mean, it's huge. Endless, endless, endless. From above New York City. Alright folks, for comparison, I live vaguely over there. See the big bridge? And those red buildings, the farthest distance, vaguely in there. And we are currently right here. There's the globe and the fountain, and that square building right there. So if I go out again, you can see the distance we traveled today. There's the big green splotch, and there's the bridge far, far into the distance. So coming off of the unisphere, just gorgeous. Now we're heading this direction to the Grand Pavilion. Well, here we are under the Grand Pavilion. So that whole ceiling up there was filled in with colored glass that would be reflective. It was a big open air space, so cool, that had towers with elevators that you can kind of see. I showed them in the distance, but they're there. That went up with little elevators to some observation decks and things like that. But this is so cool that it's still standing here. I wish they would do something with it because, you know, it's just such a gorgeous thing. So here we are on Universe Court, which is this winding path ahead of me. And in the middle of this lake was the Fountain of Planets. I'll try to find some pictures to pop up, but there were pavilions. This pathway goes all the way around, but there were pavilions on each side of that path going around, with the centerpiece here being this Fountain of Planets. But this is important. You'll see why in a minute. Well, here I am, standing outside of the General Electric building that housed the Carousel of Progress. It stood right behind me where those trees are in the background. These fountains that you see behind me are the original fountains from 1964. They stood outside of the pavilion. I don't know, did Walt drink out of one of them? Did Richard or Robert Sherman drink out of one of them? I don't know, it's hard to say, but it's pretty cool that they're still standing here. Remember that bicyclist was heading towards the entrance of the pavilion where people first saw the Carousel of Progress for the very first time. Let's take a little closer look. So here's a close-up of the fountains. I don't know, do they work still? Oh, well, I'm not drinking out of that, but they do work. Look how crude they are. And if we look right here, this corner, so there's the Fountain of Planets that we just talked about. This corner right here is the very site of the Carousel of Progress, the General Electric building. Sorry, I'm like not talking very clearly. It's very overwhelming standing here and finding some of these spots. So let's walk up to it. Obviously not much remains. So the Carousel of Progress was then moved for a time to Disneyland, and then it was moved to Disney World after that, where it remains to this day, although the last installment got a upgrade. Well, I mean, it's the 90s upgrade, but it got an upgrade from the 1964 sort of final version. All right, let's move on. Okay, if we walk a little bit further this direction, so I'm just walking away from the lake and this corner here where Carousel of Progress was, and if we keep moving somewhere in this direction, I think the road's still here. Let's find out. So see, there's a roadway up here, and according to the plans I've looked at, there was a separate roadway that separated the Carousel of Progress from Small World. Okay, so this is the roadway coming off the main road, and then just on the other side was Small World in the Pepsi UNICEF Pavilion. We've got more original. This one's still running in honor of Walt, that's what I'm gonna say. It runs on its own as a tribute to him. He drank out of this one, I'm convinced. All right, well, not much standing here anymore, but this was the site of the original Small World at the Pepsi UNICEF Pavilion. Yeah, there it stood behind us and played. It was one of the last additions added. Pepsi had dragged its feet about figuring out what kind of an attraction they wanted, and at the last minute Joan Crawford insisted that they use Disney to market it. They had been working on some kind of wooden doll sort of experimental ride anyway, and it was an excuse for Disney to use the fair's funds to work on his continuing ideas. The high capacity boat ride was an instant hit, as there weren't any lines or fewer lines compared to other pavilions because of the mass number of people they could move through. In fact, it was so successful that Pirates of the Caribbean, which was meant to be a walking tour underground, was refurbished and redesigned to include the boat ride to account for the high capacity that it could hold. So some of that technology still moves on today. It's reported that during the ride, the inaugural ride, the Sherman Brothers and Walt and his wife were on the boat, and the soundtrack broke down. So Walt and the boys stood up and started singing through the rest of the ride, which I thought was a pretty cool, interesting little story. Yeah, hard pass. Snack time. It's a hot day out here today. Coconut. Alright, we'll see you in a minute. Bye. Okay, so we are crossing over the highway. This corner here was where the Ford Pavilion was, and not much to see and look at now, but this is where the Magic Skyway premiered. It was the debut of the Mustang, I believe, and there was a ride that kind of took you through time, including some dinosaurs that are still in Disneyland. There was like a dinosaur segment, I guess, along the tour, and the technology then was used in Haunted Mansion and a few other things. Even though the Skyway itself did not move because it ran out of, Disneyland didn't have enough room for it, so they never took that with them. But they used the technology that they had developed to further rides at the parks. So that it really makes this fair an important piece of history, because so much experimentation was going on, and Disney could do it on the dime of the investors who wanted him to develop these rides for him. And the whole fair, the whole point of the fair was to celebrate sort of mechanical modern achievement. So what better place to debut these things that we now benefit still from today? So as I'm coming back over the highway overpass, you can see the unisphere in the distance there, and we are heading back along this side of the park. Okay, so just behind me here is tennis center, but this is the street where many of the world and state pavilions were held, and including the Illinois pavilion, which featured great moments with Mr. Lincoln. The animatronic technology was so new at the time, it was a spectacle. In fact, the whole exhibit was meant to be more than just Lincoln, but due to time and sort of perfecting this new technology, they only went with Lincoln as the center. And then, in a tribute to Disney after he died, they pushed for the Hall of Presidents that is now at Walt Disney World as a reminder of what this experiment was supposed to be, and just a reminder that Disney dreamed bigger than the things that we actually saw. There was so much more in his mind that we never got to see. So I hope you've enjoyed this visit to the 1964 World's Fairgrounds and seeing some of the most important and iconic moments in Disney history that actually happened far from California and far from Florida. In this little park in Queens, some very major things were happening for Disney at the expense of other people, part of Disney's genius. And so as we see the unisphere in the background reminding us peace through understanding, we sing, "There's a great big beautiful tomorrow, and it's just a dream away." See you next time.
Hope to see you back real soon, sharing in Jake's Disney afternoon.